Of the Finance Committee to order. The date is the 13th of February. The time is 3:01. With us today, we have Alderman Tolliver, Alderwoman Bade, Alderman Bugg, and myself, Alderman Franco. Alderman Bugg requests permission to participate remotely per Section 2-80 of the Code of Ordinances based on a reasonable anticipation of extended illness. Is there a motion to authorize Alderman Bugg to participate remotely? We have a motion by Alderwoman Bade.
Second.
Second by Alderman Tolliver. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 4-0. Next item is approval of the minutes 25-0104. Approve the minutes from the Finance Committee meeting held on January 30th, 2025.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
motion by Alderwoman Bay, second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. Madam Clerk, anybody from the public wishing to speak?
And no, we do not.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is 24-0913, a resolution authorizing the execution of an engineering agreement with Alfred Benish and Company in the not-to-exceed amount of $315,979 and the appropriation of $315,979 of MFT funds for the 2025-2026 bridge inspections.
Good afternoon, Tim Widener with the Engineering Division. So this is something that we're required to do to look at and maintain our 36 roadway bridges. It also helps or is one of the aids for us to get federal funding on our bridges is to get these inspections done and get them rated. We did a QBS 2 years ago. At the time, we selected Alfred Benish. And we typically do these contracts on a 2-year basis. So at the time, we did a 2-year contract, and then we had 2 optional extensions. So this would be the 2 out of 3 potential contracts. Let's see. Yeah, so there's MFT. We're going to use MFT funds for this. We have our typical language in there. One thing to note, there is some dollars allotted for some on-call services just in case we need some help with structural items on our various bridge rehab projects. Be happy to take any questions.
Questions or comments from the committee?
Motion to approve.
Hearing none, we have a motion to approve by Alderman Tolliver,
Second.
second by Alderwoman Bade. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? And that passes 4-0. Thank you. Next item is 24-0954, a resolution authorizing city to accept a grant award of $18,503.76 from the FY25 Illinois Department of Transportation State and Community Highway Safety National Priority Safety Programs Grant.
Good afternoon, committee. Bill Rowley, Administrative Services Lieutenant for the Police Department. This is part of an ongoing cooperation with the Illinois Department of Transportation. This grant is intended to reimburse overtime for police officers for pedestrian and bicycle safety for a target date of 12 months beginning on October 21st, backdated to 2024 through September 20th, or I'm sorry, pardon me, September 30th of 2025. And again, is a cost reimbursement basis for overtime for police overtime related to pedestrian bicycle safety. Obviously, this time of year, we're not able to do an awful lot in terms of education or targeted enforcement. We are making plans once the weather breaks to step up in these 2 areas, and then this grant will reimburse the overtime costs associated with that.
Questions or comments from the committee?
Yes, Chairman, I have a question.
Alderman Bugg, go ahead.
Can you just tell us some of the programs, educational programs with this? Are they in the schools or what are those educational programs?
Well, one of our targeted enforcement programs will likely include special enforcement in the downtown area. Right now, the police department and specifically our community policing unit is identifying certain areas in town where we see an increase in pedestrian-related car crashes. That obviously is in the downtown area more so than other areas. There are areas around certain schools where this type of program might be beneficial. It's intended towards the motoring public. We do have obviously an aspect where we would want to educate our pedestrian public, and the schools would be a good place to target that education aspect to this. I think the primary focus, however, will be, say, around Rivers Edge Park, for example, areas in the downtown. We can set up traffic details that are running in concert with, pardon the pun, in concert with activities down at Rivers Edge. And over time that's associated with those details could be paid for out of this grant versus using city resources to pay for the extra manpower. That would just be one example of how we plan to use this.
Thank you.
Sure.
Lieutenant, is signage, more signage or signage at all, something that would make a difference in addition to what you guys do?
Sure. I think I'll go back to the school zones, and I'll draw off personal experience as a police officer and a police supervisor. Signage makes a great difference when we broadcast that folks are entering a school zone, for instance, or in cases near Rivers Edge Park or other heavy pedestrian areas where we announce heightened awareness areas for pedestrian traffic. That draws special attention to an increased need or an increased traffic safety hazard. Obviously, those aren't covered under the parameters of this grant, but those are traffic calming measures that are effective. Historically, they've always been effective, and they're also measures that are put in place because we need those measures on the enforcement end. For example, if we are intending to create targeted enforcement, for instance, in a school zone, we have to go back into the courts and say, look, we identified this as a school zone. We made notice to the motoring public that this is a school zone and gave them an opportunity to adjust their speed before entering the school zone. If we don't do that, it makes it more difficult to prosecute. For instance, being in a school zone traffic offenses, which carry a much heavier fine, mandatory license suspension, and things like that. So signage is very important.
So to go about that, would we talk to our traffic engineering department and maybe collaborate and say, okay, we got signage here, but we don't have signage there, and I could do an audit to say, okay, maybe these other spots could use that, and then they could work on getting that down the sign department. But is that how that might work? Or?
Oh, sure. That's historically, that's a great way to get things done. Obviously, each ward has their own concerns, and each alderman has a good finger on the pulse of what's going on in their specific ward. I can recall, again, from personal experience, seeing specific traffic concerns, whether it was the motoring public or pedestrian or school zones, where we would bring those concerns to the attention of the city, and those were always handled forthwith. There are several mechanisms to get those needs brought to the city's attention and addressed. And I can't recall any instance where they weren't handled immediately. Sure. Of course, we don't want a stop sign on every corner that impedes traffic, but there are other traffic calming measures that we can put in place, including signage.
Well, and I think signage helps. And I know, what you're talking about, it helps you think. I do know that, and it's kind of similar, we put, by a school right by me, we put blinking stop lights on top of the stop signs because it's right at the school.
Sure.
And I live right over there. And what I've noticed, and it's unofficial, there's nobody stopping any more than they did before. So I know the signage is good for your purposes. Sometimes it doesn't work, but at least when we have that, we can go back and say, okay, you should have seen it, and now we're going to take it to court. So, okay. And Ken, since our Director of Public Works is here, Ken, would that be something that you could take care of, to talk to engineering or to like to RUPA to coordinate with the police department, just to see if you guys could come up with some common places that maybe the aldermen miss that might be appropriate to put signage to affect this type of thing? Okay, all right, good, thank you. All right, any other questions or comments? We have a motion approved by Alderwoman Bade, second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye.
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 I'm sorry, Alderman Bade, you say aye?
Aye.
Okay, so that passes 4-0, thank you.
Great, thanks.
Next item is 25-0112, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Aurora and the Aurora Township Highway Department for the resurfacing of Mallitzer Road.
Good afternoon, Tim Widener with the Engineering Division. I'll be presenting on the next two items, which deal with the same project.
I'll just read the second.
Okay.
I should have done that anyway. I'll read the second one, it'll be easier, okay? And then the second one is 25-0113, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Aurora and the Naperville Township for the resurfacing of Mallitzer Road.
So this is another federally funded resurfacing project. The committee has not seen this yet because we haven't brought forward our typical IDOT construction agreements yet, but we need to bring this forward due to the timing with IDOT's letting schedule. But pretty much we're resurfacing these roads. There's small segments of township portions. We reached out to them. They're interested in having us pave the their portions as part of the project, and then we will get reimbursed from them. So the first one you read is for Aurora Township. They own a little section at the western terminus, kind of near Farnsworth. So by doing this, we're eventually going to have a project on Farnsworth as well. That will improve the Molitor intersection. That should be 2027, 2028. And so everything will butt up nice with this cooperation and coordination.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the second one, or?
Sure. Second one, very similar. The Naperville Township's jurisdiction is near the eastern, not at the eastern terminus, but more at the eastern portion of the section where there's some ComEd right of way. So technically, that's Naperville Township.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on either two topics? Alderwoman Bade.
Thank you, Chairman. Tim, can you please include the maps with the township area marked on it?
Yeah, I thought about that
For both of
before I
them?
came up here. So yeah, typically there are maps with those agreements that are coming, but I could include one in here.
Okay, and Molitor and Deal. So west of Eola, it becomes Molitor, and east is Deal. But when we see on map, it shows both
Right.
Molitor and Deal.
So I apologize for not having a map, but if you work kind of west from Farnsworth, so it's technically Molitor for a while, and at some point it changes to Deal, and then Deal kind of goes up to the north,
Yeah.
and then Molitor is kind of that leg to the south, if you're kind of imagining that. So we're actually resurfacing all of that, you know, everything from the west moving east, and then where it branches apart, we're doing both,
Okay,
I guess, legs of where that branches apart.
okay. Thank you. That's
So yeah,
all.
I'll get a map before
yeah,
Cal.
for seal double- okay. Any other questions or comments on that?
Just one.
Alderman Tolliver.
And I apologize because it may be in the IGA, but it's not loading right now. But what does the reimbursement schedule look like for township to reimburse us for this? And how
And-
much is that amount?
In terms of the timing, I'll start with the first one. So Molitor. So sorry, give me one quick sec. Where is it? So with Aurora Township, they're willing to put in $36,000, which is the full amount, but it actually should be federally participating, so it'd really be 25% of that. But we have language in there just as a disclaimer, just in case something happens down the road with that. And then with the Naperville Township portion, same deal, and that dollar amount is 25,000 max. And then, did you have a question about time?
What's the scale, schedule-wise? What does it look like for them to pay us back?
It'd be after substantial completion of the physical work, which actually, I mean, it works out because actually with these projects, the contracts are between the contractor and IDOT. So actually IDOT pays the contractor and then they ask us for our share
Okay.
later, which could take months, years, especially for the final invoice. So
All right. And I'm assuming that's standard, that's normal in these type of IGAs?
yeah, we passed one not too long ago with Prairie Street, very similar, federally funded. But yeah, we typically do it at the end of the project.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Motion to approve.
Any other questions or comments? We have a motion by Alderwoman Bade.
Second.
Second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye. Oh, let's,
For
well,
both.
let me be specific now, because we did two. For 250112, we have a motion by Alderwoman Bade, second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Passes 4-0. And next one, 25-0113.
Motion to
Motion
approve.
by Alderman Bade, second
Second.
by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes 4-0. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda is 25-0120, a resolution approving the First Amendment and Second Amendment to the Sun Code leases at the Aurora Municipal Airport. Who will be presenting on that?
Patrick Hollis, Assistant Corporation Counsel. These are just to clean up the legal descriptions that they have on there. In order to get approval by the FAA, the original lease that we did was a giant area. Then they had to figure out what capacity ComEd was able to take in and take out, and now to get approved, they just have the exact meets and bound description of where they actually will be.
Questions or comments?
Motion to.
Hearing none, we have a motion by Alderwoman Bade.
Second.
Second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 4-0. Thank you. I believe there's nothing else to come
Motion to
before the
adjourn.
Finance Committee today. We have a motion to adjourn by Alderwoman Bade.
Second.
Second by Alderman Tolliver. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we are adjourned at 3:17. Thank everybody.
Thank you.